Hello, this is Kate from dailytarotgirl.com, and this is your weekly tarot card reading. And for this week's reading, I'm going to be using my newest deck, the Black Cat Tarot deck. So I'm super excited to read with this deck. This is the first time that I've used this deck for a reading. I'm going to be doing like a review video of these cards in a couple of days, so keep your eyes open for that. All right, so I'm going to draw 3 cards. Each card is going to represent a portion of the upcoming week. And my intention really is to just get kind of some fresh ideas and inspiration for the days ahead. All right, so let's begin with the first card. This one represents Monday and Tuesday of the upcoming week. Okay, so here we have the Hanged Man. So we have a major arcana card for the beginning of the week. And the Hanged Man is such an interesting major arcana card. It has to do with, well, you know what I'm thinking as I look at this card? I'm noticing it's not actually a cross, but it's like there's like a piece of wood going horizontal, and then there's a piece going vertical. And for me, it makes me think of kind of the 2 aspects of life. And I think that the horizontal bar represents kind of day-to-day life and like the external life that we lead, like the job you have, you know, relationships, where you live, etc., etc. And then the vertical bar to me represents your spiritual life. So your quality of presence and quality of being and energy and just your spiritual experience. Because I think we're having kind of both a physical experience and a spiritual experience in life. So that was my first thing that I thought when I turned over this card, is it's something to do with that. And there's this intersection of those 2 things. And then there's the black cat who's hanging upside down. And the Hanged Man is, often I interpret it as being about going inward. And oftentimes it represents things not really going our way, like things not going as planned, or feeling kind of frustrated and maybe even helpless in our lives. And how these kinds of experiences can be an opportunity to go inward. And I'm trying to think of how to say it. Like, not necessarily spiritually progress, but to get to know yourself on a deeper level and make changes to your inner landscape, your inner self, as opposed to always fixating on the outer things. So if you can't control the outer, what's going on the outside in your life, it's time to kind of go inward and take a look. So that's kind of what, in a nutshell, what popped into my head when I turned over this card. I think it's about bringing more presence to day-to-day life, being more present and bringing more of a quality of consciousness, and really kind of paying attention and looking at things from maybe a slightly different perspective. So looking at things from more of a spiritual perspective, like a big picture perspective, where you kind of step back and look at the patterns and the themes and look at things from that lens of spirit. Like, if you consider yourself to be a spiritual being who's having a physical experience, just thinking about that can give you a new understanding to things, I think. Okay, let's have a look at the next card. This card represents the middle of the week, so kind of like Wednesday, Thursday-ish. And we have the Magician, so another major arcana card, which is interesting. So where the Hanged Man is about maybe feeling powerless, so that experience kind of forces you to go inward, to tap into your inner power. The Magician is about outer power. So having power in the outer realms, in the physical world. Now, what's interesting about the magician is he's all about taking something that isn't tangible, like an idea, being inspired, having an idea for something, a vision or a desire, and making it manifest in the physical world. So taking something that's kind of ephemeral, like an idea, and making it real by really focusing on that thing. And think about, what it takes to make something happen. You got to put effort, you got to take action, you got to have focus and a vision, and you got to be consistent, and you have to have kind of some heart and energy in the game in order to make it successful. That's kind of what the magician is all about. So often when he shows up in a reading, and I think the message that this card is bringing to us midweek is that that we have this amazing power to create. By our very nature, we're creative. We have this ability to make certain things happen if we can, if we can have a clear vision and get in alignment. It's amazing what we can create and what we can do. But I think that on the one level, it's a reminder that you have this power. But on another level, the magician has come after the hanged man. And it's almost like you don't want to try to create anything or manifest anything until you've done this sort of inner work of the hanged man, until you've done some of that sort of spiritual, I don't know what you call it, spiritual, I was going to say journeying, but, where you sit down and you kind of like have a conversation with your soul and you kind of connect to that spiritual realm and you get that sort of big picture perspective. Then this work of manifesting and making things happen is going to be so much more powerful. If you don't do this piece first, then the magician can actually lead to just being really shallow, like just trying to manifest a bunch of money or, trying to manifest stuff that really doesn't have any real deeper meaning or beauty or connection. But if you do the work of the hanged man first, then the magician is so much more powerful. Let's have a look at the end of the week. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we have the 5 of Cups. So kind of a different card from the first two. And it's interesting. It looks like there's a cat in a boat. Kind of actually reminds me of like the 6 of Swords in a way. But he's on a boat and he's going somewhere and 3 cups have been knocked off the boat and he's fixated on those 3. So the 5 of Cups it asks you to notice what you're focusing on. Are you focusing on the shitty stuff in your life? And are you doing that at the expense of ignoring the good stuff? I think it's good to notice what isn't working, but you don't want to fixate so much on what isn't working that you turn your back on what is working and neglect that. And in fact, you can actually learn a lot by looking at the things in your life and the areas of your life that are running smoothly. And ask yourself, like, why is this running smoothly? Like, what is it that I do in this area of my life that's different from the areas that are not quite successful right now, the areas that I'm struggling in. So I think that, I think the message of the 5 of Cups is, it's good to notice what needs a little bit of TLC and what isn't working for you. You don't want to totally be one of those people who just like ignores the negative stuff and just fixates on positive stuff. That's super annoying and unrealistic as well. I think this is about kind of noticing what isn't working, but then looking at what is working and thinking, okay, what am I doing right in my life? And how can I apply those same principles to the areas that aren't really working for me right now? How can I take what I'm, like, for example, I'll give you an example. I've always been really good at keeping a regular fitness routine. That's something I don't struggle with. I don't really struggle with healthy eating or exercise. But I struggle with a lot of other stuff, like sometimes just being productive with work and stuff like that. I'm not very productive. I get distracted easily. I set goals and then forget about them, blah, blah, blah. But I've learned a lot from looking at, like, okay, what am I doing with my diet and exercise that's working, and how can I apply those same things to my work that I do? Okay, so I'm going to look at all three of these cards and just see if there's anything else that I want to mention. All of the figures in these cards are by themselves. I think that's interesting. And I kind of think maybe this week you're going to be doing some inner work, or it's a good week to focus on yourself and focus on inner work, if that's something that appeals to you right now. I'm really struck by the wings on the eagle here. I think they represent flight and freedom. And I think it represents finding inner freedom. Even if you don't feel free in your life right now, inner freedom is something that is always an option. So a question to ask yourself this week is, what would it feel like if I was free on the inside? If I had inner freedom, what would that be like? And what might I need to do to achieve that inner freedom? What needs to happen in order for me to feel free in a spiritual sense? Not necessarily a physical sense, because we're all bound to our lives and the circumstances of our lives to some degree or another. I'm just looking for repeating patterns and symbols. I don't really see any. Oh, I do. Oh my goodness. Okay. So there's two mountains right here. And then same thing here with the Five of Cups. And even the magician actually has three. Not sure what that is about. Here it looks like he's going to be either passing through those two mountains, or he already has passed through. I'm not sure. So I'm going to leave that to you to explore and share what kinds of insights you get regarding that. So I just want to say thank you so much for watching. I hope you found this reading helpful. I hope it gave you some ideas. If you want to learn more about tarot cards, check out my website, dailytarotgirl.com. I'll put a link below this video, and I hope you have a wonderful week.